friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making this fun water slide wrap that was created by my stepdaughter. So let's jump right in. First and foremost, I want to apologize that I did not film me glittering this cup, but I am going to walk you through the steps here. I used Crystal glitter glue, I used a makeup brush, and I had a prepped and ready to go tumbler. I simply put a coat of the Crystal in a thin, even layers all over my tumbler. I use a makeup brush because it helps create a thin and even coat, and I don't have to go back for multiple layers. From there, I just let the glitter go all over my cup. I then wrapped my tumbler in paper and smoothed it out just to make sure any pokey bits that were standing up were laying flat. Once I finish that, we're going to jump right into sealing the glitter. Super important step in my opinion, especially when you're using chunkier glitters. This will reduce the number of coats of epoxy that you need to use before moving on to our next step, which is creating the water slide and putting the water slide on. Super important that we have a glossy, smooth finish before putting on our water slide. You can use polyurethane sealers. My preference is one I grabbed from Bear. It's at Home Depot. I'm sure you can get it at any hardware store. Or if you have Quick Coat by CC DIY, that is also a fantastic option. Other folks love using the polyurethane spray. I haven't had an opportunity to try that yet, but I've heard great reviews. Highly recommend when you're using and sealing your glitter, if you're using a polyurethane and you are painting it on with your silicone brush, pour it in a medicine cup. Just do yourself the favor, pour it in a medicine cup. I noticed that some of the glitter that I missed brushing off was coming off, and I had almost dipped it into my main container, which would have created cross-contamination, and it just probably would have been a great big old mess. So save yourself a little trouble, get out a little medicine cup and utilize that. From there, guys, you're just gonna put one even coat all over your tumbler. I like to use a silicone brush to do this, but I'm sure there are other methods that if you prefer, you can definitely utilize that as well. Now that we've got our cup all sealed, we are going to jump right into our first coat of epoxy. What you are going to want to do is make sure that you're following any instructions for your epoxy. The epoxy that I'm using here is a little extra. It is a 1-to-1 ratio, and I simply mixed a total of 25 milliliters for this 12-ounce cup. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but keep in mind that I am covering chunky glitter, and I do need the smoothest possible surface for our water slide. If I don't have a smooth, glossy surface for my water slide, it is going to be a big old mess. So, we're just going to simply make sure that the entire cup is covered, the rim, the bottom, all of that good fun stuff, so that we can get ready to move on to creating our water slide. Okay, so I am using Cricut Design Space because I have a Cricut. So I'm going to walk you through how I did this. Now, this was a picture that my stepdaughter had drawn. So I am simply going into Design Space, going into Uploads, and then going into my photos, locating what she created, and I'm going to upload it. Now, this is a very similar process if you're using photos of your own. I will have another video coming up where if you are using photos from like Creative Fabrica or another creator that you may have purchased on Etsy, how you can upload those. So now I'm going to start sizing and editing my image. Now, my goal here was to create an entire wrap over a 12-ounce tumbler. from Craft Haven. So when you're doing your wraps, you're going to want to make sure that you measure the width and the height of it. I always recommend doing this once your epoxy dries. The reason for that is because the epoxy can add a little extra volume to that cup, which could throw off your measurements, and you want those to be pretty spot on when you're creating your water slide. So from there, you go to your print and cut, and then you print and cut it. Now we're going to seal this bad boy in. I use Rust-Oleum 2x clear coat. I do this 3 times, waiting 20 to 30 minutes in between each coat before I apply it to my cup. And I do this step in the same day. Reason being is I don't like it to crack or crinkle, and it definitely does that if I have it sit overnight or for a couple days. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just trim off any excess of the clear water slide paper that we will be using. This way, my image is ready to go and I don't have to fiddle around with a lot of extra steps. Okay, once you have your water slide all trimmed to the way you want it, you're gonna want a bowl, a pan, something of that nature with warm water. I personally prefer warm water. I find that it makes the water slide easier to work with. But again, as long as you've got water, it'll work. Also, do yourself a favor, if you're doing a wrap, please get yourself a bigger pan than this Tupperware bowl that I am using. To be quite frank, I was really excited about getting the cup done. I didn't want to go downstairs and get a bigger bowl, which is my lazy factor, so I used what I had in my craft space. But hindsight's always 20/20. I wish I had gone back and I wish I had used a bigger bowl. You're going to want to make sure that your tumbler is wet. This will help you move that water slide around the tumbler. That way you can get it applied nicely. And it will allow you a little bit of extra wiggle room, so if you need to line it up a little bit differently or move the wrap around, you can definitely do that. You will know that your water slide is ready because it will the backing will slide right off. It won't be super challenging to get it off the backing. It will literally just slide right off. Now, when I first attempted this, I really wanted to keep the backing on as long as I possibly could have, similar to how I do my vinyl wraps. I was not successful in doing that. So about midway through, I finally took the entire water slide off of the backing, made sure that my cup was wet enough, and did my wrap that way. What I would recommend is to make sure that you have like a silicone squeegee or a damp paper towel. This will help you smooth out any lines. It will also help you move out any trapped water bubbles, which is super important, that you are making sure that you get those out. The reason being is if you have trapped water in there and it dries, it's going to create a hole in the image on the water slide. Okay, so here's where I hopped on the struggle bus. I finally was just like, I'm taking it off this backing. But had I had a bigger pan, had I had the ability to keep the water slide actually in the water, I probably would not have had so much of a struggle when I was applying my water slide. So Save yourself a little time and a little trouble and just get the bigger pan so that your water slide fits in it. And I apologize for being out of frame. I'm just trying to make sure that everything is lining up. This isn't a seamless design. Like I said, my stepdaughter, she's super artistic, super creative, and she created this. So we thought it would be a really, really cool idea to put it on a glitter cup so that she had something that was completely unique, that was created by her. So here you see me using a damp paper towel and my finger. If you can avoid using your finger, please do so. It is so easy to tear these water slides. But what I'm doing is I am simply moving out any air, any wrinkles, any water bubbles that still may be trapped underneath the water slide, because we have to put it on a damp surface. Next, I'm going to trim off any excess. I'm going to start with the seam, and I'm just going to use the seam that's there. Water slide is pretty easy to cut. You're just going to want to make sure that you have a sharp craft knife. That way you get a nice and easy cut. And just take your time with this, folks. I am showing this to you in real time, just to kind of show you the time that I take to make sure that it's smooth, all the water bubbles are taken out. That way, when your water slide fully dries, you just have this seamless, really beautiful wrap that you were able to create. Okay, and then once you get all the air bubbles out, let that bad boy dry. I let mine dry for 24 hours. Probably don't need that long, but I would rather be safe than sorry. All right, now we're coming in with our final coats of epoxy, and I am going to pop my bubbles. I like to use my torch to do so, but here's the final product, guys. It was so fun making this, and I hope you love this. Thank you again for joining and watching me. Please like and subscribe and follow us on social.